have a tutorial about how to make variable cards with variable backs and fronts on the same card. And I thought a good example of that might be trivia cards, since they usually have a question and a series of possible answers on one side and then the final answer on the back. So I thought I would just do a quick example of that. So first off, on the spreadsheet, I'm just typing question as the variable name. Before I get too far in, I'm going to freeze that row. I'm going to say answer A is the first option, answer B is the second option, and then answer C is the third option. And then this is the final answer that's going to be on the back. I am going to say final answer. Who is the captain of the Enterprise D? And you could say Kirk, you could say Picard, you could say Cisco, but the final answer is indeed Picard. Or you could say, what is the best fruit? And you could say apple, or banana, or guava, and you would be right to say guava. This is entirely my opinion. I like guava juice. And say, what did Picard prefer to drink? You could say synthahol, or you could say prune juice. You could spell it right. Or you could say tea, Earl Grey, hot. And of course, T would be correct. So you've got this final spreadsheet, and you're gonna save it, download as, and then CSV. Saving that into a just a loose support folder. So support. I'm gonna save that there. Let's go to InDesign. I've got my template set up again. I've got a 2.5 by 3.5 card size. This is a little big for most trivia cards, but I wanted to keep things pretty consistent for the previous lessons. All the margins and bleeds are the same. Technically, this wouldn't have any bleeds necessarily. It wouldn't need bleeds, I should say, since there's no graphics going to the other side. But one thing I am going to change is going to make this landscape, since most trivia cards are held sideways. Aside from that, it's all pretty much the same. So I'm going to click OK, and it's going to open up a new thing. So the trick with two-sided variable cards is that you're in fact having 2 pages. So I'm going to insert one page. If you saw that was in the top right menu over here in the pages palette, and you can just insert pages there. So you have one page here, one page here. I'm going to say this is the side that this side has the initial question and the 3 options. So I'm making a text window here. It's just one big text window, as a matter of fact. And I'm setting the text frame options to center. And whenever I have something like text space like this, I just go ahead and copy this whole deal and bring it back into InDesign and just type out the whole thing. Or rather, instead of typing out the whole thing, I'll just copy paste a typical example of a insert, like if I need to bring in images or if I need to bring in text, and the text can be long. I'll go to the spreadsheet and pick like the longest question. So for example, this is the longest question here. I'll use that as the placeholder. And then for this, this is the longest possible answer. So I'm going to go to the other side of this card, make a new text window. Once again, type that answer in. I'm going to adjust the text frame options so that it is centered. And the reason I do this using the longest possible option that would be in this text window is mainly so that I can really make sure that I'm not going to get any overset text errors. So you have a question, you have 3 options, and you have the answer on the other side. You just go to data merge, you select your data source, and that would be the let's find it. Trivia cards, support, selecting that spreadsheet. Select your question, and then select question in the data merge palette, and you're suddenly replaced with the text variable. Answer A is that, answer B, and answer C. And then replace the final answer with this. All right. That's basically what you do. And then if you click on preview, you can see that preview is actually 2 pages. And this is where the key difference between what Data Merge calls a record and what you would call a page is quite different. Because in the spreadsheet, every line, every row is a record. And where you place these individual variables doesn't even matter. Like this InDesign doesn't care whether this variable is on one page, like page 1, or on page 7. That can change however you want. So that could do some interesting things for, like, say, booklets, mailers, things like that. If you wanted to place someone's first name throughout a brochure, for example, you can do interesting things like that and swap things out. But for our purposes, really all we're doing is making a 2-page InDesign document that represents one card, the front and back of a card. And so this is the front, page 2 is the back, page 1 is the front, page 2 is the back. And so say you were to export, and here's what happens. When you go to page 1 of this exported document, and I can extend this out so you can see it a little bit. Page 1 is the front of card 1. Page 2 is the back of card 1. Page 3 is the front of card 2. Page 4 is the back of card 2. Page 5 is the front of card 3. Page 6 is the back of card 3. So you can see, because your original document had 2 pages, when you export out all this, it exports the entire deck with alternating fronts and backs for each card. And so I want to show you really quick another example of this using actual images. In particular, I wanted to show you an example of a more finished game. I know that some of the cards that I've shown you, actually most of the cards that I've shown you as part of this class, have been really unfinished and kind of ugly looking, so I want to show you something a little bit more polished. This is for a game called Koi Pond. You can see another, if you look at my YouTube channel, you can see how I put together some of this art, but that's kind of outside the scope of this class. But if you're working on a card game, chances are you're going to have an artist that will provide you with art, and you won't have to do it all yourself like a schlub like me. So this is all the art and assets that I have. Let's go to the spreadsheet. Each one of these rows, again, is one card. In this case, I'm going to make a back image. The cover has the same image on the front and the back, so I'm going to just copy paste cover.tiff onto the back variable. Same thing with the start player. Now, all these koi cards, these hybrids and individual koi, they all have the same card back, and that card back is actually called cardback.tiff. So I'm actually going to call this cardback.tiff, and I'm going to copy that and go all the way down to the last, and I'm just going to paste that. So now all these cards have the reference cards. Because these are 1, 2, 3, and 4, I can just go ahead and make the consistent back to all those cards the fancy play diagram. And let's see if I can find that here. Yep, reference 0, conveniently enough. Thank you, Past Daniel, for making that relatively simple. So I'm going to add those backs to these cards. And then the actual ribbons also have identical fronts and backs because I want those to be very, very clear. So I'm just going to copy paste everything that's on the front onto the back variable. Just to be clear, this entire column has a bunch of variable images, but those variable images are not going to be on the front of the card. They're going to be on the back. The way we do this is if we go to my existing Koi Pond image or InDesign file, you can see now that because I have the preview turned off and I've got the frame edges turned on, you can see all the variables I've already got set up on these cards. You can see the hybrid border, you can see the suit, you can see the rank, you can see the variable art, you can see the suit ribbon in case that it is a ribbon card. There's a bunch of stuff here, and just to kind of give you a quick preview of that, I'm turning on preview of cards that has the front and the back, and I've already got the back set up on the spreadsheet. So I'm going to go ahead and download, place that spreadsheet, and you can see that in the updated spreadsheet that I have got a new variable here at the very, very bottom called back, and it hasn't been assigned to any page because there's no page for it on the document. So at first I have to make that. So this is going to be back of the card. This is page 2, and let me show you here. So I've got a whole bunch of information, a whole bunch of variables here on the front of the card, and the back of the card is blank right now. And I happen to know that the art that I'm bringing into the images that I'm bringing into the back are exactly the same dimensions as the art variable. So I'm just going to copy paste that art variable here, and you can see in data merge that it's showing that this variable is present on page 1 and page 2, which is kind of a cool thing. And you can see how things will change as long as you start making multi-page variable InDesign files. Blah, that was a mouthful. But we don't want the art to be on the back of the card. We want the back to be on the back of the card. So I'm while I have this variable placeholder selected, I'm instead of making it art, I'm going to make it the back. And I'm just going to click on back. There you go. And you can see at the top of the frame, the image placeholder, that it's now the back variable. And you can see that this variable is also on page 2. When we preview this, this is card 1, and this is page 1. Or this is page 1, and this is page 2. You can see once I turn off all of those frames and stuff, they're exactly the same. Let's go to card 2. Page 1 and page 2 are exactly the same because, again, on the spreadsheet, I made the art variable one thing and made the back variable the same thing. So in both places, I've made cover.tiff on the cover page the graphic that is the variable graphic in art and on the back. Let's go to something a little bit more complicated and so go to the next page. This is a koi card, and I've got all those variables in place. Nothing's changed there. The only thing that's changed is now I have a second page, and on that second page I've got card back. And this may be easier to see if I pull out this pages palette and go to data merge, so you can actually see how if you look closely at the preview page here, you can see as I toggle through the rest of these cards that the fronts of the cards are the same, are varying, but the backs are staying the same because I've assigned the exact same card back to all of these cards. So I'm pretty comfortable with the way all this is set up, so I'm going to go ahead and export. And you can see on the page preview that it's made this one long document that has 180 pages. That's 90 cards, starting from the top, the cover card, which is the front and the back, the start player card, that's the front and the back, the rules card, that's the front and the back, front and back, front and back, front and back, koi card in the back, koi card and the back, koi card and the back, koi card and the back. You get the idea. So that is how to create a deck of cards that has variable images in the fronts and the backs.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and support the rest of this series on Patreon.